how can we understand what the church is teaching regarding same-sex attraction? I'm gonna make 2 points, two points, then we'll dive into something in a second. In the theology of the body, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the theology of the body, there are two kind of principles. There's many principles, but here's two of them. One is this: you are your body. When I first heard that was not a radical idea. When I first heard the theology of the body, like, yeah, you are your body. Duh. Right now, that is so counter current culture. I think 5 years ago, it wasn't even countercultural. Right now, the statement, you are your body, is actually radically countercultural. But John Paul II said it like this. He said, the body and it alone makes visible the invisible, the spiritual and the divine. So the body and it alone makes visible the invisible, the spiritual and the divine. So again, you guys, when I first started talking about this would not be a contested idea. But if you were to say, okay, here's Joe. See, you don't even see him because he doesn't have a body. How do you know Joe is a man? Not because he feels like a man, not because he has to tell you he's a man, because he has a man's body. That's how you know Joe is a man. How do you know Jane is a woman? Not because she feels like a woman, but because you look at Jane's body. Jane has the body of a woman. The body and it alone makes visible the invisible, the spiritual and the divine. You are your body. And every single Sunday we stand up and we recite the Nicene Creed. This is a Catholic worldview. We recite the Nicene Creed, which is, I believe in the resurrection of the body, which means that if you have a woman's body right now, in eternity you will have a woman's body. If you have a man's body right now, in eternity we believe you will have a man's body. Because you are your body. In fact, when we die, we become less human. It's one of the obscenities of death, which is that the body and soul are taken apart, and your body and soul are not meant to be apart. The obscenity of death is that the soul and body are taken apart, and so you have, think about it. Peter Crave talks about it like this. He says that the things that like horror movies are made out of are body and soul separated. So you have like ghost stories, that's a soul without a body. Or you have corpses, like, The Walking Dead, that are bodies without souls. Because what we are as human beings is body and soul together. You are your body. Second point is, if you are your body, then what you do with your body matters. You are your body. The body and it alone makes visible the invisible, the spiritual and the divine. And if you are your body, then what I do with my body, it actually matters. It's not just what's in my heart. It's not just my intention, not just my circumstances. It's what I actually choose that makes a difference. So how do I know? How do we escape kind of the current kind of crisis in our culture that would say that, no, it's not what you do, not the objective reality, it's just like how you feel, the subjective reality. Because a lot of our, our culture would say things like, listen, you gotta stand up, you gotta speak your truth. Have we heard this phrase? Got to speak your truth? Yes. So it's a real thing. I'm glad you raised your hand because no one else did. So thank you for being courageous. So like there's kind of these like head nod where like no one can tell behind you. It's like, Father, I hear you. Don't make me move though. But this idea of speaking your truth it's not completely incorrect. Why? Because sometimes that is like, hey, how are you doing? Speak your truth. I'm fine. False. Anyways. But there is another reality. Truth is not just subjective. Truth is actually objective as well. Truth can be subjective, how I'm doing, what I prefer, how I'm feeling. Fine, that's great. But truth is also objective. And it's so interesting because objective truth is quick definition of truth, 2 words. Truth can simply be defined as what is. What is. So a statement is either true or false to the degree that it conforms to what is. So if I were to say, there is a podium on this stage, that statement is true or false to the degree that it conforms to there being a podium on this stage. If I said that there is a microphone on this stage, that statement is either true or false to the degree that it conforms to what is. If I were to say there's a chair on this stage, you'd be able to say, no, there's no chair on the stage. Right? So amen, we get this? So a statement is either true or false to the degree that it conforms to reality, to the degree that it conforms to what is. The problem with that is something is either true or false regardless of whether I like it, know it, or believe it. Like something is objectively true. If something is objectively true, it is objectively true regardless of whether I know it, like it, or believe it. So I could say, like, right now, for example, here we are in Phoenix. We're in this windowless room. If I were to say, someone were to come in from the exit and say, you guys, it is snowing right now in January in Phoenix. You say, but I didn't know that. Does that mean it wasn't snowing? It wasn't snowing for me. No, it's like it's snowing independent of whether you know it. You're like, but I don't like snow in Phoenix in January. It doesn't matter. That doesn't do anything about it. Doesn't affect that, not liking that reality, or not even say, if you're just saying, nope, I don't believe it, that would not stop it from snowing. So a thing is objectively either true or false, regardless of whether I know it, like it, or believe it. So what is the objective truth about who we are? What's the objective truth about what things are? Because we have to start here. We have to get to this place of like being able to say, okay, so everything, that if there's an objective reality, everything has a nature to it. What I mean by nature is like a very simple way. It's like it has a what it isness. The what it isness of a thing is the nature of a thing. So I should have prepared and grabbed a chair, but you all know what chairs look like. So you might have encountered one once or twice. So you look at a chair and say, okay, this has the nature of a chair, because it's the what it isness of a chair. And you say, well, how do you know the what it isness of a thing? How do you know the nature of a thing? You know the nature of a thing. You know the what it isness of a thing based off of the what it is forness of the thing. So what's a chair for? Sitting, exactly. A chair is for sitting. So I know that this is a chair because what it's for, it's to sit on. So you can have like a chair like you're sitting on, you can have an easy chair, you can have a lazy boy, you can have a stool. All of those things belong to the nature of chair because they're all what it is forness, which is to sit on. Amen? You also have like a table. And we know the nature of a table, the what it isness, based off of the what it is forness. What's a table for? To set things on, exactly, to set things on. So we recognize, okay, so I know that this is the nature of my imaginary chair because of what it is forness, to sit on. Here's the nature of my imaginary table because what it is forness is to set things on. Now, the what it is forness reveals the what it isness. The purpose of the thing or the reason for its existence reveals what it is. Now, here's the thing. I can use the chair for what it's made for. I can sit on it. But I've also done this, you probably have done this too, where sometimes you've taken something and you've set something on a chair. And you violated the very nature of, you haven't, or we've done this, we've sat on a table and mom comes in and yells at you. But like, other than that, the what it's forness, you just like, no, I'll use it for my own purposes. No problem with that. Because there are some things that the what it is forness, to sit on, you can actually use it for your own purposes, to set something on, and it doesn't violate the very nature of that thing. But there is such a way you can use a thing and violate the nature of it. For example, if I were to use that stool or that chair as a chopping block for splitting wood, that would pretty quickly and pretty obviously violate the nature of chair. Or I could take a table and like use it as a prop for my car to change the oil underneath. And again, it would pretty quickly violate the nature of table. That's not what it's for. And the same thing is true when it comes to human beings. The same thing is true when it comes, let's go, because we only have 15 minutes left. Let's talk about sex, baby. What is the nature of sex? Well, the what it isness is revealed by the what it's forness. What is sex for? Yeah. So if you were like a scientist, the alien scientist, and you have no idea about life on Earth, and you came down and like just examined all of the like different biological systems, you would say, okay, there's one animal system or animal action called the sexual act. You're saying, okay, what is that for? Okay, I'm going to find the nature of it by looking at what it's for. So, what is the nature of sex? What is it for? Someone said it. Procreation, exactly. I mean, it's like not a newsflash. That is like the nature of sex is oriented to, what it's forness, babies. We also recognize that scientifically, genetically, biologically, the what it's forness is also unites the people in the sexual act. We know that endorphins and other, hormones are released during the sexual act that actually help a person get bonded to the other person in the sexual act. So there's two what it's fornesses in the sexual act. Babies and bonding. Procreation and what the church calls the unitive action. That's the what it's forness. Now, can a couple engage in the sexual act. So here's Jack and Jill. Jane, she's no longer here. Here's Jack and Jill are married, and they enter into and what happened is they really want to have a child, but they haven't been able to have a child yet, and so she's tracking her cycle, and they're like, okay, wow, hey, I'm ovulating, we got to get going, and so they enter into the sexual embrace, ordered towards procreation. Not necessarily because they're like, oh, I just love you so much and I want to experience this great closeness to you and really want this unitive action of the sexual act. Now, are they violating the sexual act because they're entering into the sexual embrace more for babies than bonding? Are they violating that? No, just more an emphasis on the baby thing. No, at the same time, you could have Jack and Jill, and they're like, in this moment, we experience a lot of affection for each other, and we just really want to experience that closeness, and so they're entering the sexual act because of the closeness. Not because they really want to have children out of this particular act. Are they violating the nature of sex in that case? No, because they're open to it. That's not the reason why they're there. Now, could there be a situation where Jack says, listen, I want a baby. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about your consent. I don't care about you at all. I don't care about the unitive. I'm actually going to take advantage of my quote unquote rights as your husband to have sex with you so that we may have a baby regardless of what. So it's working against unity. Right? See that? Working against unity. Would that be violating the sexual act? Absolutely, because you're working against, not just like our emphasis is on procreation, but it's because like we're actually working against one of the ends, what its forness is of sex. Could a couple also violate the procreative act? Say like, okay, we want to experience this closeness, but we do not want to have children, so let's do what we can to prevent children from being conceived, whether that is through medicine or through a condom or through some other kind of means. Would they be violating the what its forness of the act? Absolutely. Again, this is the objective. That's true whether I like it, whether I knew it, or whether I believe it. Because the sexual act has a nature, and we know that nature by asking the what is it for? So this is true for every human sexual act. That it is oriented towards unity, and it is oriented towards procreation. Regardless of anyone's wounds, regardless of anyone's desires, regardless of anyone's past history, regardless of anyone's inclinations, if I work against either of those two actions, I am working against the very nature of the sexual act. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm saying, like, this talk is not about like those people over there who want a certain kind of sexual experience. It's about everyone in here. Because everyone in here, the church's teaching is absolutely 100% consistent. I'm single and I want to masturbate. Is that oriented towards unity? Nope. Procreation? Nope. Okay, then that's a violation of the sexual act. Okay, I'm not married and I want to enter the sexual act. No, that is a violation of the unity that's meant to be intrinsic. You probably want to avoid having kids, so that if I use contraception, it's a violation of the sexual act. If I want to have a sexual action that can never ever produce life, would be a violation of the nature, the what it isness of the sexual act. And here's the unfortunate thing that's just like for across the board, whatever someone's basic inclination or attraction is for, we recognize that any sexual act that is not at least open towards unity and procreation is a violation of the very nature, the what it is forness of sex. Here's the question. Does that sound, no, you might say that sounds silly. You might say that sounds Middle Ages. But does that sound like hate? Like, let's be honest about this. Presented like this, does that sound like hate? Does that sound like the church is saying, for those people over there, we hate them? Or this is a group of people we're singling out and saying, you may not do X. No, this is absolutely 100% consistent for all human beings. That's why one of the things we have to understand is, as Catholics, is the church's teaching regarding sexuality is for all of us without exceptions. and has nothing to do with hate, has only to do with truth. What we actually believe will lead to love.